Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today I want to talk about some health stuff. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because if you've been following this content, it's got a couple themes, right? And one of the themes is that the system hates you and doesn't want your best interest at all. In a good system, it would be promoting health and stuff like that. And so because we're not, and because we can't trust anything that the system says, basically, it's up to us to be informed for our families about different things that you can do to be healthy, because you can't trust government regulations. You can't trust the FDA, the USDA. I mean, they're all just trash, right? And so not only do I want to go over some of the things, my wife brought this thing up to me, that there's this current thing, I think it's in Michigan, and it's this, I'm going to talk about it later in the episode, but it's this lady food babe, and she's trying to get these BHTs out of the Kellogg's cereal. And there's hundreds of thousands of people signing this petition, and it's really interesting, So I want to go into a couple different topics here, all health related, and some of them I have solutions for, and some I don't. Like you just have to abandon some types of foods because of the poison they're putting in them. But you need to know what those foods are, So like Mike, like my oldest son, he always knows that Skittles are poison, but didn't know that Starbursts are poison as well. So while I tell him Skittles are poison, I let him eat Starburst every once in a while, like on Halloween when he gets some in a bag. And I don't know that I'm also feeding him poison, but I've learned a lot, and I'm here to share some stuff with you. So if you're interested in learning some stuff, here we go. Now the first one I got is one that I did a couple months ago, and it's the seed oils one, right? So you hear a lot of people talk about seed oils, and you hear like, I don't know, We Are Changed, Luke Pokowski, I can't even say his last name, and he says, oh, the seed oils, and you're like, is this a conspiracy? Like, what are you guys doing? Why aren't you talking about this? So basically, I looked it up. You can Google it a lot of variety of different ways, but Google will just tell you the truth about a lot of things. But basically, before people had seed oils, they would just use lard, which is made from animal fat, right? Real lard is made from animal fat. By the late 20th century, lard began to be considered less healthy than vegetable oils, such as olive and sunflower oil, because of its high content of saturated fatty acids and cholesterol. Now, there's something else happened, right? During World War II, they tried to basically commandeer all the animal fat-based lard for military production. And I'm guessing they were using them in ammunition. But basically, people needed an alternative to flip to, so they had Crisco. Crisco's you got to look when you buy lard. You got to look because a lot of them are just made from seed oils, not from animal fat. So the Crisco was a substitute for animal fat lard that was a seed oil itself. So there's a lot of them that you just shouldn't use, even if you're going to stick on the seed oils and you're going to ignore this episode, right? Corn oil is linked to diseases like heart problems, diabetes, and cancers. Oils to avoid are canola, corn, cottonseed, grapeseed, soybean, sunflower, and rice bran oils. If you're interested, avocado oil is not a seed oil because it comes from the meat of the avocado. So if you did use avocado oil, you'd be in the clear. But okay, let me go over the pros of lard, right? Substituting lard for seed oils, because I never hear anybody talking about lard, but they talk bad about seed oils. But what's the? And I've switched a couple months ago. I'm going to tell you about my experience doing that and how great it is. But here are the pros of lard, right? Stability, it has a more stable shelf life than vegetable oils and less likely to oxidize, which can produce carcinogens. I know in my situation I'm at now, like above the oven is where we formerly kept our ovens built into the cabinets, and in the cabinet above it we kept our seed oils. But they get warm up there, and you're always kind of wondering in the back of your mind, I wonder if this is going to work out well. The answer is no, carcinogens. The smoke point. Lard has a higher smoke point than vegetable oils, making it better for frying and other cooking methods. It's superb for anything you use it with. It comes out great. Flavor, as a neutral flavor that can enhance the natural flavor of food. Fat type. Lard is high in monosaturated fats, which are considered good fats. Heart health. The monosaturated fat in lard, oleic acid, may help lower cholesterol and reduce the risk of depression. Let's talk about cholesterol real quick. Because the reason why I got onto the seed oils thing was I was watching an episode from Jimmy Dore, right? And he was covering this study that they did in the 1990s. It was peer-reviewed, this and that, but then they suppressed the study, right? And the study said that cholesterol is good for you, right? If you lower your cholesterol by every certain amount of points, you increase your risk of heart problems by X. So they've got the variables in the study, And the reason why is because basically I forget what it was, but something happens in your veins and arteries that causes a callus. And that callus can lead to blockage. But what cholesterol does is it comes in there and it partially repairs the callus, which increases your blood flow. Now, if you want to think about this, like I wonder if this study's true, right? Okay, so what you're saying is that the animal fat that God gave you actually works to make your body healthy, and the man-made stuff that they process doesn't work out as good. Do you think that sounds true? Do you think that the man-made processed stuff that the system gives you is good? Well, I'm gonna say no to that. Okay, so I did it right, and I got all these 1 pound things of tubs of animal fat lard, right? You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Walmart, you get them wherever you want, but you got to look at what's in them to make sure you're not just replacing seed oils with seed oils. Cooks everything terrific. You've never sauteed vegetables like you saute them with lard, right? Everything works good. I cook chicken in it. I cook everything in it. I literally cooked an omelet in this morning. Well, I had butter in the eggs, like real butter in the eggs, but for the pan. So like you use it instead of like spraying down a sheet pan, or like this morning I was using, just a regular pan for omelets. But what you do is you could buy wax paper, but we didn't do that. We bought parchment paper because my wife wanted to use it for baking if she needed it for something. And basically I just pull off a strip about this big, cut it off, rip it in half. And so I have like a 6 inch by 6 inch thing. I just scoop it into the thing so it's in the middle of the thing, rub it on the pan. Beautiful, beautiful. Everything cooks better. And animal fat lard, I can't, like, I'm not a doctor. I can't promise you that this is working great. I might keel over of a heart attack tomorrow. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of evidence. You could just ask Google different questions to the literal AI, the Google AI, and it will come up and start telling you about the poor heart effects of seed oils. And some of them not, though, you know what I mean? But I would just, in my opinion, I would stay away from them. I think this is an interesting one because this is something you can actively change in your life. It's not like it costs a bunch of money. It's not like you have to go to Whole Foods. It's not like you have to change your life. You just have to change this one little thing, right? So now, I don't want to talk about COVID and COVID-19 vaccines and stuff like that. That one's easy. The system hates you. You know they hate you. They said 6 months and older, I believe, your child should be get a COVID-19 vaccine. We know that's absurd for anybody under 18. I literally heard a commercial this morning when I was driving my truck, and they were basically like, yeah, come in for your new vaccine. Even if you got vaccinated last year, because the new vaccine is different than the old vaccine. You should also get this vaccine too. And they're like, oh yeah, bring your insurance card too. And because it'll be free if you have an insurance card. But if you don't have an insurance card, well, I mean, the lady on the commercial, she's like, it'll be nominal. It'll be nominal because we don't want to turn anybody away. It'll be nominal, right? So remember where they were giving it away for free? Before, oh my gosh, I don't even want to go into all this. Okay, but let's just talk about this one example. Now, I have an episode on this that Victor and I did, and it's called Vaccines and Medical Tyranny or something like that. I'll put a link to it in the description below. If you haven't seen that, it's a little older episode, but everything's still valid that I said in that episode or that Victor said. And one of the things I mentioned in that episode, though, is something that RFK Jr. said, I believe, when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. And like, when you're looking at vaccines, it's hard. Like, which ones are good? They eradicated polio. Which ones are good and which ones are bad for you? And if you think about it like this, right? The hepatitis B vaccine, right? The hepatitis B vaccine is a terrific vaccine, and as far as vaccines go, and it was made for people who like gay orgies, right? So this is not made for just gay people. This is not made for two gay men in a monogamous relationship, two gay women or lesbian women, however you want to say it, in a monogamous relationship. This is just for people in group functions of that, whatever, and then it's also for drug addicts, with needles, who share needles and stuff like that, right? They're tending to get hepatitis B. This is a great vaccine. Why not take hepatitis B, then go do your group things or your needles, right? But the problem is when they made the vaccine, nobody from either of those two groups would go get the vaccine. They would not proactively go get it before they got hepatitis B. Remember, you're not asking the monogamous two dudes who are, dinks or whatever you want to call them, dual income, no kids, and who have this really nice house and their lawns upkept. You're asking, the philanderer, not philanderers, I don't know the right word, but, the carouser out there at 1 a.m., at the group party, or the drug addict who's in a doorway somewhere, passed out. They're not going to come in and get it. So they were like, man, we got this really good vaccine. We spent all this research on it. How do we get profit from this? They're like, oh, we'll just lobby the government. We'll make it a schedule for children to get the hepatitis B vaccine, just in case they're at group gay orgies or sharing needles. Right? So then your baby's born and they're like, okay, you want the Hep B? Oh, well, they ask you way before the baby's born. And then you come back for a wellness check and they're like, okay, you ready for your Hep B now? You ready for your Hep B? You've got to be kidding me, right? So when I look at all the other vaccines, right, and I'm like, okay, what do I want a vaccine schedule for my kids? What do I want to give them? Well, here's what I want to know, right? To the hospital, you're asking me this, right? And really nice guy at the hospital brought me out all these books and this and that, and I'm checking out all this stuff, and it's like I just want to know: do you give hepatitis B vaccines to babies? Do you give COVID-19 vaccines to 6 months-year-old? Because if that's the case, you're not doing medicine. It's not medicine at all. What you're doing is you're selling vaccines for pharmaceutical companies, and I'm going to do a hard pass on all because it's the same Gelman amnesia effect. You tell me, nah, you should have the hepatitis B. Oh, 6 months. Oh, you should have a COVID-19. No, and then you turn to me and be like, but this one is actually really important. I don't believe you. You've lost all credibility. I'd be a fool to know two of them are false and then believe the other one. Okay, now we're going to go into the one about the Skittles and the Starburst, excuse me. This is an article I put below, and it's on food additives, right? Specifically, it's called titanium dioxide, right? It's banned in Europe, but it's one of the most common food additives in the U.S., right? This is the title to the article. Titanium dioxide, banned in Europe, is one of the most common food additives in the U.S., and it's by this company called U.S. Right to Know, or by this website. Okay, so, gosh, as soon as you read it, it's just depressing. Okay, titanium dioxide is one of the most widely used whitening pigment in the world and has been linked to adverse health effects, particularly genotoxicity and intestinal inflammation. It is applied as food coloring and a whitening agent to a wide variety of foods, including chewing gum, cakes, candies, bread, and ice cream. Because of health risks, France banned titanium dioxide as a food additive in 2020. 2 years later, the European Union also banned titanium dioxide as a food additive. But in the US, titanium dioxide is found all over the grocery store shelves. Candy like Skittles, Starburst, and Jell-O, gum like Trident White Peppermint Gum and Mentos Fresh Mint Gum, cake products like Duncan Hines Creamy Vanilla Frosting and Nabisco Chips Ahoy. Cookies are just a few of the myriad food items that contain the additive. A significant body of research, mostly from rodent models and in vitro studies, has linked titanium dioxide with health risks related to the gut, including intestinal inflammation, alterations to the gut microbiota, and more. It is classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, the IARC, in Group 2B as possibly carcinogenic to humans. Okay, but I do recognize that. So France did it in what did it say, 2020? Yeah, it said 2020, and then EU did it in 2022. So I do recognize that if the US did it this year, it would be similar to those, in doing it. We're going to get to the FDA position on this, but I want to point this out. If legitimate researchers came to me and I'm the supreme leader, okay? My only goal is to look after the best interests of my people, that I govern. And they say, hey, this food additive is possibly carcinogenic to humans. What do? You put a hold on it. Nobody can use this while we do more studies. You don't wait until there's 100% proof. You err on the side of protecting children. Like, oh my God, this is not rocket science, but the system hates you. So you're gonna get a lot of this stuff. Okay, as a food additive, titanium dioxide and its nanoparticles in particular have been associated with DNA damage and cell mutations, which in turn have potential to cause cancer. When used as a food coloring, it is known as E171. With the rise of nanotechnology, research in recent years has also shown the dangers of titanium dioxide nanoparticles and their genotoxicity, which refers to a chemical agent's ability to harm or damage DNA in cells, thus potentially causing cancer. I took that part of the article. It's intelligible, understandable. You want to, it's referenced below. You want to go down there and look at the exact science behind it. It's all in the article, but then it gets too heady, and this is not my field. Okay, now the FDA's response to this. Following the EU's ban on E171, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, told The Guardian that based on current evidence, titanium dioxide as a food additive is safe. Quote, the available safety studies do not demonstrate safety concerns connected to the use of titanium dioxide as a color additive, end quote. So it said following the EU's ban, so this statement was made 2022 or thereafter, it's very unlikely that the FDA is going to ban this stuff anytime soon. And so if you don't know what the things are that this is titanium dioxide, you You should look. Actually, you know what? After I did this research, me and all my kids I took them all to the supermarket, and we literally were going down the candy section, and my oldest kid was like, because Halloween's coming up. He's like, I really love Kit Kats. Is any of this stuff in Kit Kats? Any poison in Kit Kats? And I'm like looking at you should look, right? If you have children, you should look. If you're just an adult living by yourself, you should still look. Be healthy. Okay. So now we're going to go to the one that my wife brought to my attention. And this is the BHT one, which is a preservative. And this one is called, okay, I got actually 3 references below for this. These are artificial dyes that they put specifically in children's food. And specifically, they have negative health effects for children, right? And so you know that it's in other countries they don't do this, but in the US they do because the FDA allows them. Like, spoiler, get to the end of it, right? So this first article I put below about this is called Kellogg's Facing Backlash from National Activists Over Food Dyes. And it's a local article by WZZM 13, their local news station. And this is about this lady who's called the Food Babe. And she literally goes around forcing these companies to get these toxins. I'm gonna call them toxins out of the children's food, or out of any food. Like, you can go to our website, foodbabe.com, right? And you can sign the petition for this one in Michigan to get Kellogg's to take the BHT out of the and the dyes out of the 15% of Kellogg's cereals, right? You can go on there and you can put your email in, and she'll notify you when there's other petitions you can sign. They got you could just go down our website and look. It's sick. They were like, oh yeah, back in I don't know what they said. I just read it this morning. It was like 2015. Subway was putting this chemical in all their breads. And so then I said, hey, we're going to stop this. Within 24 hours, we had 50,000 people signed the petition. And Subway immediately called and said, we're taking it out of all our breads. Like, bam, look at that. You know what I'm saying? Some actual progress. Now, it's not the system helping you. This is threat of loss of profit, which will work within a bad system or a good system if everything is based on profit-based incentives. If the corporations are, we could literally all bring Netflix to their knees right now if we want to, over Cuties too, or whatever, if we wanted to. And then if you don't want to, every time they say, hey, oh my gosh, I'm going to get into this. Every time I just cannot. You pay for Amazon Prime, right? You pay for it, yearly fee. And they say, hey, pay us more every month so we won't give you commercials on the thing you already pay for. And then people are like, oh yeah, I'll do it. I'll pay. And everybody paying. And they're like, can we add another fee on there? The answer is yes, you can, Amazon, because people won't resist you. My gosh, just say no to these people. But here's a lady who's saying no, this Food Babe. So I think it's great, So basically, Kellogg's pledged in 2015 to remove artificial flavors and colors from their cereals by 2018. 9 years later, they say 15% of their cereals still contain them. So this battle is going on in Battle Creek, Michigan, right? And I'll read a little bit from this article because I think it's very interesting. On October 15th, national activist and food author Vannie Harry, who calls herself the Food Babe, plans to deliver a petition signed by more than 190,000 people that calls on Kellogg's to remove artificial dyes from its children's cereal. Okay, so on October 15th, she plans to deliver this petition. Today, I'm filming this. It's October 15th right now. And I went on the website before I filmed. They said 190,000 in this article. Right now, it's at 411,900. Right. And just the wife showed me before she left, she boxed up all these things. I don't know how you box them up because they're digital, but whatever. And she's taking them. Awesome. Good job. She's awesome. Okay. Quote, I will be going to Kellogg with over 190,000 signatures on a petition asking Kellogg to remove artificial food dyes in their cereals and the endocrine disrupting chemical called BHT. Ari, who has 1.9 million Instagram followers, said, Hari claims cereals Kellogg's produces affect children's brains and that artificial food dyes are linked to hyperactivity in children, autoimmune disorders, allergies, asthma, eczema, and cancer in animal studies. Okay, what does the FDA say? The Federal Drug Administration says on its website, quote, the FDA has reviewed and will continue to examine the effects of color additives on children's behavior. The totality of scientific evidence indicates that most children have no adverse effects when consuming foods containing color additives, but some evidence suggests that certain children may be sensitive to them. Okay. Kellogg's does produce, oh my gosh, I hate this. Kellogg's does produce cereals with natural dyes in places like Canada, Europe, Australia, and India, Hari says. Okay, now the next article I'm going to show you is the scientific proof that the FDA just lied to you. But before I do that, I have the last three references below are for this. So the second from the last is going to be the Berkeley study saying that it hurts the kids. The last one's a New York Post article from a whistleblower. I'm going to get to that, but I want to put the picture up on the screen of the American and Canadian Fruit Loops boxes, okay? Nothing too spectacular on the Fruit Loops boxes themselves, but the ingredients are listed below. And you can see the American is on the left, Canadian on the right. And on the left, you can see highlighted in red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, BHT for freshness. That says poison, poison, and poison, 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 right? Now look on the Canada side, right? I could just sit here and just read this for a while, but I mean, you could look at concentrated carrot juice for color, turmeric for color, concentrated watermelon juice for color, concentrated blueberry juice for color in each of the different, cereal ones, concentrated huito juice, whatever that is, for color, right? So they've used all natural coloring things. They can easily do it. Instead, they're poisoning. Okay, but the FDA says it's inconclusive. Okay, so let's go to the next article. This is from Berkeley Public Health. New report shows artificial food coloring causes hyperactivity in some kids. And when the FDA above in that previous article said that that most children have no adverse effects when consuming foods, if you just say, okay, well, yeah, that's actually factual. It's actually only 0.2% of children. Gosh, I hate you. You know what I mean? If you say, let them have a little bit increased profits because they won't put the natural flavors there because we don't care about 0.2% of children. I just despise these people. Okay, so Berkeley Public Health, right? Here we go from this article. We're not going to read a lot of it. You can go read some more if you want, but I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs. A report released in April 2021 by the state of California, which contributors from U.S. Berkeley and UC Davis confirmed the long suspected belief that consumption of synthetic food dyes can cause hyperactivity and other neurobehavioral issues for some children. The report also found that federal rules for safe amounts of consumption of synthetic food dyes do not reflect the most current research and may not be protecting children's behavioral health. Let me note the date on this, okay? A report released in April 2021, okay? So 2020. Okay, so it was already banned in the EU, and this is just ridiculous. Okay, so basically I want to go into the last article. This is called Kellogg's Fruit Loops made with harmful additives despite vow to remove dyes, shareholder, by the New York Post. And so this guy is basically, he's not doing this anonymously either. He's blowing the whistle on them. And so what he's claiming is just a claim, but he's coming forward and he's a famous guy. He's being defended by the attorney who defends Kanye West and some famous people. So this guy's not nobody. This guy's a big guy, but he's also a big guy. I looked up him personally, he's really into health stuff. So this is really, he's crusading, for a good cause, So here from the article, Kellogg is injecting, quote, harmful additives, end quote, in its Fruit Loops sold in America that it vowed to get rid of years ago, according to an explosive letter a shareholder sent to the cereal giant, reviewed by the Post. Oh, he sent it to the cereal giant and also copied to the Post. Interesting. Kellogg investor Jason Karp, Jewish, founder and chief of healthy foods company Human Co., claimed in a note sent late Wednesday that, quote, in pursuit of short-term profits, Kellogg fills its most ubiquitous cereal products in the U.S. with harmful artificial dyes, such as red 40, yellow 6, and blue 1, as well as the preservative BHT, end quote. Quote, Kellogg knows that these artificial additives can harm children, Karp alleged, citing research from the Center of Science in the Public Interest that said, quote, in addition to considerations of organ damage, cancer, birth defects, and allergic reactions, mixtures of dyes cause hyperactivity and other behavioral problems in some children, end quote. Quote, following the science, the EU required food companies to put a warning label on products with these ingredients, stating that, quote, may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in the children, end quote, wrote Karp. So that's interesting. So in this case, the EU didn't ban them. They required you to put warning labels. Okay, because I'm looking at this box again from Canada. I don't see a warning label on there, but that's from Canada, not the EU. So that's interesting. Listen. I will accept the settlement, right? That you just put warning labels on the boxes, just so that. Like at one point, I didn't know that Skittles were poison. As a kid, Skittles were my favorite candy. They were my favorite non-chocolate candy, right? Growing up as a kid. They made my gums bleed if I ate a whole bag of them. But So at one point you're completely ignorant. You just don't know unless your parents tell you, you know? And fortunately, my oldest kid, you know, he had a parent to tell him that Skittles are bad, but he wasn't fortunate to have a parent who was not completely ignorant about how bad Starburst are, you know. And so then that parent who told him, it's just sad, you know. This whole thing's sad. The system hates you. I don't think you can go wrong by looking into this stuff, by trying your hardest, especially if you have children. I mean, they're absolutely at your mercy, you know, especially when they're tiny and they won't eat. You know, they're on human food, but they just so picky, and you can't just succumb to giving them bad stuff if that's all they'll eat. You have to figure something out. Anyways, I think this was a lot of interesting stuff. I think it's very important. The system hates you. We already know they hate you. It's amazing that they don't try a little harder. Okay, so I heard this thing once, and I think this is interesting. What's the most valuable commodity you could have in the United States of America? And the answer is a child who's chronically sick, who will not die, but chronically sick children are the best case scenario for the system. You can grow up, you can be chronically sick your whole life, right? They could print money, whatever, you know, and give you money for disability. They don't care because that's a tax of inflation passed on to everybody else. It doesn't hurt their pocket, right? And then you could use that money to funnel into all these different insurance programs, into all the hospitals, into all the medication. Politicians taking kickbacks from pharmaceutical companies. It's terrible. It's terrible. Pray that there's a hell. Pray that there's a hell that these people can burn in for the rest of their lives. I just can't stand them. That's what I got for you today. Anyways, tomorrow I'm going to talk about some stuff about Nazi war crimes. I got something wrong in a couple previous episodes, and I want to clarify that. And hope to see you next time. Fuck, I hate these people.